Hack number 1, do you have problems with your pages not laying flat when you want to start them? Well, the thing that I like to do so that you don't have this problem is to use binder clips. You can put them right on the edge of your pages, the very, very tip, and they have enough weight that they will keep your page nice and flat so that you can create a beautiful art journal spread. Art journal hack number 2, do you have problems with your jars getting stuck of your glues and all sticky stuff? Well, you can prevent that just by, first of all, cleaning off the edge of your jar and taking off all the glue. And then you can put a little bit of regular Vaseline or petroleum jelly around the edges. This way, it creates a lubrication and you can easily move your jars off and on without any issues. If you can actually twist it off, what you can also do is run it under hot water. Just, make sure that it's sealed very, very well. Put it in your bathtub, run it under hot water for a few minutes, and that top will come right off. But you just do that and you stick it right on. And that way you do not have to worry about not being able to open your jars. They open every single time just with this simple tip. Are you constantly running out of room on your little watercolor palette, especially when you're switching between warm and cool colors? Well, I have a hack for you. Instead of having to clean off your palette every time you want to start with a new color family or add a different color to your composition, what you can do is get a cheap ceramic plate from the dollar store. This is literally $1. It's ceramic, and you can use that as your palette. It gives you so much more room for color mixing, and it's a very great hack. So maybe I'll show you how it works here. So you can add some red and some orange. And suddenly I can play around and add my warm and my cool colors together without them being contaminated. So really great art hack for extending your watercolor palette. Let's try another one. Do some red. And it just gives you so much more room. We can add just a touch of yellow, which is always a wonderful thing. I actually have 2 of these plates. I keep one for cool and one for warm, and that way I can mix to my heart's content and I don't run out of room when I want to add both warm and cool colors together. And another thing that's so cool about this palette is that you can reactivate the color. So this is dry. All I do is add a little bit of water in my brush, and I can go in and pick that color back up and add it right to my painting. So I can let this dry and come back and use it again, which is really cool. So I suggest that you head out to the dollar store and get one of these wonderful ceramic plates. Have you ever been working on an art journal page and you start stenciling, but then you hate the way that it looks? It's floppy, it doesn't look very good. As long as you have dried off your layers and you work quickly, you can use a baby wipe to remove that stenciling that you just did. All you do is take it and you scrub really hard and it goes away and it doesn't take off the paint that you had on your base level. So baby wipes are magical. Do you constantly have to rinse out your water jug because it gets contaminated so easily, especially when you're using multi-colors of your watercolor paints? Well, I have a quick tip for you. What you can do is you can have 2 jars on your table, one dedicated to warm colors and one dedicated to cool colors. So you would use your yellows and your oranges and your reds in here, and that's the only brush that those are the only colors that you use in this jar. And then you would use your greens and your purples and your blues in this jar. And you can switch back and forth, and you can even use the same brush. You just have to wipe it off in between, but it works very, very well, and I've been using this for years. Another tip with your water jar is that I like to mix medium. So I will use watercolor and acrylic together, either in art journal pages or when I'm doing a canvas. So I have one jar that is dedicated to acrylics when I'm using them and like wrenching off gesso from my brush, or if I need to water a paint down in acrylic paint, then I only use this jar. And then I also have one for my warm and my cool watercolors. So one for warm, one for cool, and then this is kind of the one that I use for all my acrylic stuff. So that way you don't have to get up so often and you don't have to worry about ruining your watercolor brushes. They're never contaminated because they never touch this jar, vice versa. Okay, hopefully that helps. Do you have problems with bubbling when you're adding paper to a collage? You stick it down, you think you put enough glue, but there's a little bubble. Well, what I like to do is I like to take a credit card or a key card or whatever kind of card you have and actually go over it and make sure that it's kissed to the surface just by dragging it back and forth over it. Plus, it removes any excess glue that I have underneath my surface, and I don't have any problems with the bubbling. So let's do another piece here. So when you are applying your Mod Podge or whatever you're using, or your gel medium, this will work for anything. You want to put a generous layer on top. And I know some people say that you need to add glue also to the piece of paper. I do not do that because it just slows me down. So what I do is I just stick it down just like that, right onto my glue, and then I go over it and I use the pressure of my brush to push it down. And then I can get my nifty credit card and I can just make sure that it's nice and smooth down and migrate my glue over. So that is the way that I collage to make sure that I don't have any bubbles or any dents in my mixed media collages. So tell me, how do you collage? Do you have a technique that you use? Especially for canvases, because you do want the paper to kiss the surface. But it's really quick and it works very, very well. Plus, you don't have any excess glue to worry about. Do you have problems with your art journal pages bleeding? Well, my quick tip is to use masking tape. So sometimes you'll be working on a page and you add lots of media, and what will happen is it will seep through on the other side or on the other pages. So a quick tip and a way for you to prevent that is to use some old-fashioned masking tape. You can even add a little bit of glue stick, which is sometimes what I do, and then you just add a piece actually that goes down the edge of your page. Just tear it off here, just like that. Make sure it's nice and pushed up against your edge. And then you can apply gesso, paint, whatever you need to, and that spine is protected so that it will not leak through to these other pages. And you can also do that with any journal that you have, but I find that with homemade journals, a lot of the times the colors will seep through onto other pages. So just to help prevent that, you can just add a little bit of masking tape, and no one is none the wiser that you went a little crazy with your inks or your paints. Do you love to make splatters like I do? And normally what will happen is it will get all over the place on your phone, on your mat, just all over, on your brush, just everywhere. So a neat trick that I like to do is that I just get a lid from a shoebox and I use that to protect my surface. So now I can splatter until my heart's content and it does not go all over my table. It is totally protected and I have more control, and the lid gets full of the paint instead of my poor phone that has so many splatters on it. Do you go through tons of paper towels during the week, cleaning off your brushes and cleaning off mediums and all the stuff, and you just have a stack of paper towels by the end of the week? Well, a quick hack for that is to just grab an old pillowcase, a white one, or a piece of fabric, or a piece of clothing that you're not wearing, and let that be your wipe rag. So here I have a dirty brush that I need to clean off a little bit, and I can just go in and wipe that color off of the brush, and then I'm ready to use it again, and I have not wasted a paper towel. I do this with my gesso, and I have gesso on my brush or on my palette knife. I will seriously take it and just wipe it right on this little cough. And the good part about this is that you can reuse it in your art. It's really beautiful. The colors are very vibrant and beautiful, and it's a little bit stiff because of all the different mediums that you put in, or you can just toss it and you have not used up a whole bunch of paper towels, which can be very expensive when you are making art on a budget. Did you make a beautiful collage piece, but you have paper hanging over the side, and when you use scissors, you can't get very close? There's always a little bit that's left, a little bit of gap that's left up, even with these small scissors. Well, a quick and easier way to do this is actually to take an ordinary emery board. This one I got from the dollar store. They come in packs of 20, and you just take it and you can sand off the edge of that paper, and it creates a nice clean edge. So you can go here and you just move it back and forth, and it removes all of that excess paper, and you have a nice clean edge instead of some of it sticking out and it rolling up after you work on a project. You just take your hand and you can brush it off, or you can even take a paintbrush and just brush it away. So that's a quick way to remove paper from the edges of your canvas. I don't know about you, but I love a cheap brush. The problem is that they like to come apart, like this one just did for me, or even this one that I just bought. So instead of throwing this away, even though it's annoying that it keeps falling apart, what you can do is grab some strong strength adhesive, or E6000, or even glossy accents will work, but you just need, or Gorilla Glue works really well, and you can actually glue your brushes together. And the best part about this is that it is water resistant, so they're not going to come apart. All you do is go right on the barrel of the paintbrush that has gotten broken off on the handle. You can go in here, and you're just going to stick it back on, and it can go in the water. You can beat them up, and nothing's going to happen. And I will just use my rag here to just wipe off the excess. Oops. I wiped a little too hard there. And then you just let it dry overnight. We can do that with this one too. This is a cheap brush, but it's a glue brush, and I love to use it, and I don't want to go spend money on a brush that I'm just going to ruin again. So I just go right on the tip of where this part goes into the handle of the brush, right? You can even apply a little bit inside. And just make sure that it's water resistant, whatever glue you're using. And you're just going to take it, and you can put it right on, and you let it dry, and they are seriously like new. I have done this with a ton of my cheap brushes. Like this one just fell apart, and you can see that it does not come off. I let it dry overnight. So really quick, easy tip. If you cannot do the really strong glue, then I'm sorry, maybe someone can give a recommendation for another glue that you can use. Glossy Accents really doesn't have a lot of fragrance. It is pretty expensive though, and these glues, these extra strength glues that you can use on tile, on ceramic, on plastic, and they're waterproof. This one I like. It doesn't ooze as much as the E6000. It's the 9001, and I think it's by Surebond. So I will put a link to it. And it doesn't really smell as bad as E6000, then I would just maybe do some research and see. I have used Eileen's Tacky Glue in a pinch, and it does work too. I mean, it doesn't last as long as if you use the really good strong adhesive that's waterproof, but it will get you out of a bind so you don't have to lose your favorite brush or whatever. So that's another quick hack. Is your glue never ready when you are? Right, I have this bottle of Eileen's Tacky Glue. I was just literally just glued this down, and I got another piece of foam, and it's totally clogged. So the next hack is that I like to keep my Eileen's Tacky Glue in a jar. This will work for any kind of tacky glue or PVA glue that you have. And I just keep this jar right on my table. It's my glue jar. And you take off the lid and it's ready to go every single time. And I can continue on crafting without having to wait. I stick the cap right back on and I stick it right in my jar and it's ready to go. So quick tip. I don't know about you guys, but I always add way too much glue when I use my glue stick. Let me show you. So this is what I'll do is I'll be collaging down a piece of paper, right? And I go, because I'm trying to move fast, so I go all the way around, I stick it down, my hands get all sticky, the pages stick together, it's not fun, I get my fingerprints all over it, and it's just not good. So a quick tip that you can use is you're going to grab just a catalog, whichever catalog you want. The pages just need to be glossy, that's the important part. And you can just take your piece of paper that you want to tape down, and I mean this is like really sticky. It's going to totally leave a residue. Maybe my paint won't stick properly and that kind of thing, so it's very, very annoying. So what you'll do is you'll just take it. You're going to take your glue stick. You can go right over the top of the paper. Give a nice even coat of your glue, right? And I can glue it right down, and I don't have excess glue around where I stuck around the edge of where I want to stick my paper. That way I don't have things sticking together and gluing. And the best part about this is that you can turn the page. So another one, if you don't have watercolors, is that you can use just kids' school markers, the washable kinds, Crayola, that kind of thing. These I just got from the dollar store. They're super cheap, but I really like the colors. And I used them for a long time because I did not have money to buy even a cheap set of watercolors. So what you do is you just grab your regular washable markers, kids markers, and you just need a surface. You can use a plastic bag. You can use packaging. You just want something that you can add water to and mix together, and it's not going to sink into the surface. So this is just contact paper that I put on top of poster board. It's like my DIY like craft mat. And I have a video if you want to see that. I'll link that below. But you could literally just use any type of plastic. Even your craft mat would work great too. And then you just take it. So whatever color you want, you're going to scribble it out right onto your mat. We can even do another color too. Let's do purple because I love purple. Alrighty, and then you're just going to activate it with water. Right. Let's start with the purple. So these are just watercolor swatches that I like to make on this side, right? And you can just go right in, get your brush a little bit wet. You can go right in and use it just like you would watercolor, right? We can add a little bit more water to it, kind of thin the color out, just like that. And it works really, really well. Let's do the orange. So this is a great hack if you want to do like the watercolor doodles that I do a lot. This is a great way for you to be able to do that just with school markers that I'm sure you have or that you can totally take from your kids and they'll be none the riser. This is how it looks when it's dry. You can see right there, that's one. And then this is another one that I use too. So it's really nice. It has a really beautiful matte finish and it works really, really well. So I hope that you give this hack a try. And I just literally take a piece of tissue or my rag and I just wipe it off and I'm ready to go and add more colors or do more things that I need to do. and it's a great hack. So those are the artist hacks and tips that I use almost every day in my artistic journey. Hopefully I gave you a couple tips that will just make your life a little bit easier, go a little smoothly when you're ready to create or make art. I would love to hear if you have any art hacks or any tips that you use that just makes your creating process much easier. Maybe I will include them in the next video. And please give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Don't forget to share. If you pin it on a Pinterest board, that helps me out so much, or share it on Facebook, or even you can share videos on YouTube. You can send them to your friends. That helps me out so much. Make sure you check out the art cards and for any links, and if you're interested in getting that glue and other things, then make sure that you check out the description, the video description. And I will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.